Hola! Hello, welcome to our Spanish lesson today. You're going to need some equipment to help you with your learning. You'll need some paper to write on and a pen or a pencil to write with. So if you don't have those things in front of you now, pause the video, pop and get them, and then press play when you're ready to continue. Today, we're going to be finding out some information about the geography of Spain and also finding out some information about the weather in Spain as well. First of all, let's have a practice of our 10 weather phrases. Por favor, escuchad y repetid. Hace calor, hace calor, hace frío, hace frío, hace viento, hace viento, hace sol, hace sol, llueve, llueve, nieva, nieva, hiela, hiela, hay niebla, hay niebla, hay tormenta, hay tormenta, está nublado, está nublado, hace calor, hace frío, hace viento, hace sol, llueve, nieva, hiela, hay niebla, hay tormenta, está nublado. Here's our sentence builder again. Let's have a practice of putting some sentences together. So the first sentence is, it's cold in the east. It's cold in the east. What will we need for that sentence? Can you find the words and phrases? It's cold in the east. Have you found it? So we would need hace frío en el este. Hace frío en el este. Let's try another one. It's stormy in the northwest. It's stormy in the northwest. Can you find the words that we will need for that sentence? It's stormy in the northwest. So we need hay tormenta en el noroeste. Hay tormenta en el noroeste. Let's try another one. It's cloudy in the west. It's cloudy in the west. Have you found the words you need? Está nublado en el oeste. Está nublado en el oeste. And let's try one more. It's raining in the southeast. It's raining in the southeast. What will we need for that one? That's right. Llueve en el sureste. Llueve en el sureste. Let's have a go at saying our poem, which of course doesn't use the compass points to say what the weather is like in different places. Instead, it uses the names of towns and cities. Are you ready? En Manacor hace calor, en Amieva nieva, en Cheste, en el este, hace sol y hiela. Hace frío en Amurrio, llueve en Albacete. Hay tormenta en Pontevedra, en Soria hay niebla. How did you get on? Did you remember it? Let's try it one more time. En Manacor hace calor, en Amieva nieva, en Cheste, en el este, hace sol y hiela. Hace frío en Amurrio, llueve en Albacete. Hay tormenta En Pontevedra, en Soria hay niebla. Well done, that was good reading. Now, here we have a map, and it is a map of El Mundo. So, what's the map showing us? What is El Mundo? That's right, the world. So, it's showing us the world. Now, what we want to find is Europe. So, have a look at the map and point to the part of the map which is Europe. Have you made your choice? Let's see if you're right. So, that is Europe just there, Europa. It's only a small part of the world, actually, isn't it, to have so many countries in it? So that is Europe, Europa. Here's Europe in a bit more detail. This time we want to look at Europe and we want to find Spain. So point to where you think Spain is. Have you found it? That's right, there is Spain, there is España. And have a look at this map. What do the brown and the creamy coloured areas show us? That's right, they show us where the mountains are, and you can see that Spain has a lot of mountains in it. It is a very mountainous country. So here is Spain. Let's have a look at its geography in a bit more detail. So this part here is España, and you can see that Spain is joined onto various different countries. So we have Francia, France, joined on in the northeast. Also, there is a very small country called Andorra, and Andorra is this tiny little country just here. That is Andorra. Then there is Portugal over in the west. And then in the south, we can see Marruecos and Argelia. Now, Marruecos is Morocco and Argelia is Algeria. And you can see, particularly with reference to Morocco, how very, very close it is to Spain. In fact, this is a picture taken from the hills in the south of Spain, looking across the Straits of Gibraltar, and you can see Africa, you can see Morocco very clearly. In fact, they are only 8 miles apart. It only takes you 35 minutes on the ferry to get from Spain to Morocco. And here's another photograph taken from the air. You can see Spain on the left and Morocco on the right. And you can see again how very close together Spain and Morocco are. Now, Spain is divided into various different regions. This is a map that shows those regions. Each colour is a different region. And these regions are called autonomous communities. Now, autonomous means that they have their own government, they have their own president, and to a very large extent, they make their own rules and regulations. But ultimately, they are all governed by the national government in Madrid. You can also see that there are two island communities. So we have Islas Baleares over here in the east, in the Mediterranean, the Balearic Islands. And we also have Islas Canarias, the Canary Islands, which are more towards the west. Now, can you see that Islas Canarias, the Canary Islands here, appear in a box? That's because the Canary Islands aren't really just there. If we look at this map, here's Spain. There's the Balearic Islands, Islas Baleares in the Mediterranean. But the Canary Islands are actually quite a long way away from the rest of Spain. They are off the coast of Africa. Now, if the map was always like this, Spain would have to be very small to fit the Canary Islands in. So, to make the map of Spain bigger and more clear, they put the Canary Islands in a box much closer to the rest of the country. And there's the Canaries there. Now, each of the autonomous communities is further subdivided into provinces. So each of the different colours on this map shows the autonomous communities, and the grey lines within them show the different provinces. So when I lived in Spain, I lived in this area, I lived in the city of Soria, which is in the province of Soria, which is in the autonomous community of Castilla y León. Now here's another map, shows you the very, very southern tip of Spain again, and the Straits of Gibraltar, that's this bit of sea just here, and the very northern tip of Morocco. And what this map shows you is that there are also some autonomous communities belonging to Spain on the north coast of Morocco. One of them is called Ceuta, and Ceuta is just here. The other is called Melilla, and Melilla is just here. Now you can see from the map that Ceuta and Melilla are tiny. So Ceuta, as you can see from this map, is only about 8 kilometers from side to side, and Melilla is only a little bit more than about 4 kilometers from side to side. So they are owned by Spain, but they are very, very tiny communities. Here's that map of Spain again, then divided up into the autonomous communities, divided up into the regions. And we're going to use this map to see if we can work out the answers to the 8 questions that you can see on the left. First of all, it says, which region do you think is the largest? And which region do you think is smallest? So that'll be a question of looking at the map, working out the approximate sizes, and thinking about which are bigger and which are smaller. Question 3 says, which region do you think is warmest? And the next one, which region do you think is coolest? So you need to think about what you know about where the weather tends to be warmer and where it tends to be colder. Then the next 2 questions, which region do you think is wettest and which do you think is driest? In other words, which ones get the most rain and which ones get the least rain? And finally, which region do you think has the largest population and which do you think has the smallest population? Now, of course, the size of the region will have something to do with that, but not necessarily everything. So, what I'd like you to do is to pause the video, write down those 8 questions, and then write down your answers that you think, according to this map, are the answers to those 8 questions. Press play again when you're ready to continue. So, have you made a decision for each of those questions using the map there? Let's find out. Now, here is some data. This is a table with information that is the actual answers. Let's have a look at the information we have. The first column there is región. That's the name of the regions, and you've got them there listed in alphabetical order. The second column says área, and that's measured in kilometers squared. So, what we're being told about there is the area, the size of each of the regions. Now, if you look at the numbers, you'll see that perhaps some of them aren't quite as big as you were expecting. But remember, where we would put a comma in Spanish, they put a decimal point. Where we would put a decimal point, they put a comma. So, for Andalusia, for example, its area is 87,268 square kilometers. Then the next one, población. Now, población might remind you of an English word. That's right, population. And again, decimal points mean commas in English, so most of them have got numbers in the millions there. And our next column says temperatura media anual, and is measured in degrees centigrade. I expect you can guess that temperatura is temperature, but it's showing the average, that's media, annual is annual, the average annual temperature in those different regions, and it's measuring that in degrees centigrade. You can see that some of them have commas in. So, for example, for Ceuta, its average annual temperature is 15, we would say 0.5, but in Spanish it's 15,5. And finally, our last column says precipitación media anual, and it's measured in millimeters. So we know that media anual is annual average, and precipitación is the rainfall. Okay, and so rainfall is measured in millimeters. This shows you the average annual rainfall measured in millimeters. So now that we have all the information that we need, the real answers, I'd like you to pause the video again and have a look back at your questions and use the table here to find out what the real answers are. When you've done that, press play again and we'll go through the answers. So, have you looked through all the information and have you found out what the answers really are? Let's check them. So, first of all, which region do you think is the largest? The largest one is Castilla y León. And which region do you think is the smallest? The smallest region is Islas Baleares, but of course you could have included Melilla, which is tiny as well. Then the next one, which region do you think is warmest? The warmest one is Islas Canarias, the Canary Islands, because of course they're so much further south. They're very near the equator. And which region do you think is coolest? The coolest one is Castilla y León, mainly because it's to the north and it has a lot of mountains. A lot of the cities get very cold in the winter. Then, which region is the wettest? Which one gets the most rain? You will have noticed that Galicia, which is the one in the northwest over the top of Portugal, gets a huge amount of rain compared to everywhere else. And which region is the driest, gets the least rain? Again, Islas Canarias, but you could also have included Melilla because they're a lot further south. Melilla is near to the Sahara Desert, Islas Canarias, of course, near to the equator. And finally, the population. So, which region do you think has the largest population? The largest population is Andalusia. So, it is a big region, but also when people move from other countries to go to live in Spain, they do tend to live in the south in Andalusia. And which region has the smallest population? La Rioja is a very small autonomous community. And of course, you could have included Melilla as well. So, have you enjoyed finding out some more information about the geography of Spain and also the geography of the different regions of Spain? Adios. See you next time.